Ever feel like you're doing all the right things and still wondering why your body feels off? You eat well, you train hard, your labs say you're fine, but deep down you know something's slipping. You're not alone and you're not crazy. I'm Daniel Rasmussen, founder of Echelon Center for Longevity, and I've spent 2 decades helping high performers like you to reverse aging, reignite vitality, and finally get answers. On Unbreakable Vitality, we go upstream. We talk peptides, stem cells, precision diagnostic testing, reversing the age of your arteries, all the innovative science-based tools to take back your health span so that your next decades are your best yet. Because aging is real, but decline is optional.
Most people get acne and they go to the store and they buy acne products. Well, those products aren't designed for somebody that has hormonal, cystic, or inflammatory acne. They're only designed for someone like a teenager that has super oily skin. So it destroys their skin barrier. So my job then is to fix their skin barrier and help hydrate their skin and repair it. If they're not clearing up within like 2-3 months, that's when I, start to kind of get a little bit more serious about like gut testing and hormone testing.
All right. Welcome to this week's episode of Unbreakable Vitality. My name is Daniel Rasmussen, founder of the Echelon Center for Longevity. And today we have a special guest who is a pioneer in the intersection of longevity, skin health, holistic body wellness. Samantha Dench is the founder of Skin Deep Aesthetics and the mind behind Skin Deeple movement. Did I say that right, Samantha?
Yep.
Okay. And she's a licensed esthetician turned functional medicine inspired skincare strategist. She's helped hundreds of clients move past the surface level of skincare fixes, quick fixes, and treat skin more as a reflection of what's going on inside the body, internally, hormones, gut health, inflammation, and lifestyle. So whether you're curious about reversing skin age, that's the whole kind of point of this podcast is longevity and how to live well, not just live longer, healing your acne, or understanding why your skin seems to age faster than you are feeling in the current timeline. This conversation will give you tools, some truths, and a new lens. So Samantha, welcome to Unbreakable Vitality. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm just curious, what inspired you to shift from traditional aesthetics to more functional medicine-based approach to skin? Was there a light bulb moment, kind of a turning point for you that changed how you view skin health?
Yeah, it started back in 2006 when I went off birth control to start a family, and I had acne for the first time in my life. And I was an esthetician, so I was working for a spa, doing facials and skincare products to treat my acne, and nothing was clearing it up. And so with each of my pregnancies, my skin was clear. So I was like, I got hormonal acne. Great. So it'll eventually clear up after my hormones regulate. And my 2 younger ones are 14 months apart. So after having back-to-back pregnancies, my skin was really bad. Plus I had a lot of weight to lose. So a friend of mine was like, you should try this gut cleanse. It's like a 14-day gut cleanse. It'll get rid of inflammatory foods, help you drop the baby weight. So I was like, perfect. And the funny thing is, within a week, my skin cleared up. And it was like, you're good for a while after you do these detoxes. And then, you start eating bad foods again. And my skin started breaking out. So I was like, I'm onto something here. And so kind of that was where my inspiration for like learning more about gut health and how it's impacting the skin kind of was born. And then I've been implementing it in my facials for many, many years. And then this year I stumbled upon a functional medicine program and I was like, okay, this is where I need to go because this just makes sense because now I can actually test my clients and kind of help them get to the root cause of their gut or their hormone problems.
Amazing. So now you often say, from what I read on some of your content, that your skin is like the canary in the coal mine of the body. What are some of the most common internal balances that you've seen that you come across in working with clients that show up first on the skin? And why do you think the skin shows them or expresses them so early?
I feel like our skin is the first line of defense, and acne, rosacea, even premature wrinkles. all of it's tied to either gut or hormones. And even stress is a big one too. Now that I'm doing functional medicine, I'm really digging into stress and realizing it's the stem of everything. So our skin is a detox organ. We think that what we put on it, gets absorbed, but it's actually the opposite. Like our pores, everything comes out through the pores. Our sweat, our oil, like when we sleep, our body restores itself, and all of that comes out through the pores when we sleep. That's why sweating is so important, because it's like we got to get all that junk out of our body. And so because our pores are super active, any kind of inflammation that's going on in the body, it's going to come out and show up on the skin.
Yeah, just speaking from personal experience, back when I would say it's been probably 5 or 6 years now that I've kind of put my autoimmune, the skin rosacea and cystic acne is where it was turning there for a little while. And man, you hit the nail on the head. Stress is a huge factor. I remember I would go to work in the morning and something stressful would happen. I'd have a little bit of a reaction. And by the end of the day, I would have 2 or 3 breakouts like that same day. It was fast. So stress, the hormones of stress are a major factor. How do you, in terms of that component that you find very common, what is your approach? What did you do yourself, and how do you help your people you work with, your clients, address that aspect of their skin health?
So before I went to school for functional medicine, I have always kind of reverse engineered it with my clients. I've kind of given this suggestion, because under my aesthetics license, I can't say, oh, eat this, eat that, because we're technically not allowed to do that. So I would give them suggestions, like ask them questions about bloating and headaches and digestion, and kind of put the picture together, and then just say, it sounds like what you're eating might be causing some of your skin problems. Have you ever tried cutting out gluten or cutting out dairy, or just kind of creating that education for them, so it like just triggers in them, ooh, maybe I should try this. I've told them, start a food journal, write down everything you're eating every single day. And at the end of the page, write down the condition of your skin. Did you have a flare up? Was it clear? Did it change? Because sometimes, and like you were saying, we have a stressful situation, or we eat a food and it triggers inflammation, and within an hour, it comes out through the skin. Some people, it can take longer, but sometimes you get those responses right away. So writing it down and kind of going back to look, you can pinpoint and really target, like, oh, it is the dairy. Like for me, it was dairy for a long time. But everybody's trigger is different. And so now that we can do the functional piece, it's like we can check for gut bacteria, we can check for parasites, we can check for inflammatory markers, and even food sensitivities. But, a lot of times you can kind of figure it out without having to do extensive testing.
That's great. Sharing my, in terms of my personal approach, what I noticed with the stress factor, diet was a huge part. Just from what I was going through, is I had all those little lifestyle factors kind of dialed in. So when I couldn't, this was the tough part for me, was trying, like, man, my diet is clean. I don't drink. I exercise. I had all these healthy lifestyle rhythms, but I was like, what is going on? Why am I having this issue? And, autoimmune conditions run in my family. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just, my lot. This is my personal autoimmune story is starting to manifest. But I'll tell you, you hit an important point here, is parasites. And so I did a stool test checking for parasites, but nothing came back. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm just going to try a parasite cleanse. So I'm a big fan of Cellcore products. So I don't know if you've heard of Cellcore, but they have a wonderful parasite cleanse protocol. And so I did their foundation protocol. Man, that thing took probably 6 months to go through. But by the end of it, progressively, I saw my skin clearing up month by month. And that's what I attribute to the trigger of my own rosacea, and the flare-up was something that we didn't have the test for to detect it. So to your point, sometimes it's not necessary to do those expensive diagnostic tests, because they sometimes can't detect something. There's so many different parasites out there that are not showing up on the radar, for example. that are your tried and true common parasitic infections, there could be, hundreds of different species of parasites that are not going to hit the radar on those tests. And just going through, I like the fact that you can do these cleanses and it's at least doing no harm to your body. If anything, you're just kind of doing a big reset on the gut health and helping to rebalance. So, man, it's such an important message to get out there of the gut health. And I don't want to say that everybody just needs to go on a parasite cleanse, but it's an often overlooked trigger to skin health for sure. And the core of it being the foundation of your health, which is your gut. So in terms of, many people default to a lot of these fancy new topical creams, facials, serums. What are the limits of some of the topical treatments that you've seen? And when do you know when it's time to shift to the deeper protocols?
So I feel like most people nowadays go on social media and get their information. And so everybody's a skin expert now, and we're actually damaging the skin. So that's that's a sweet spot for me where I'm like, but when a client comes in, typically they've been trying a lot of products. I'm going to use acne as an example.
Yeah.
Most people get acne and they go to the store and they buy acne products. Well, those products aren't designed for somebody that has hormonal, cystic, or inflammatory acne. They're only designed for someone like a teenager that has super oily skin. So it destroys their skin barrier. So my job then is to fix their skin barrier and help hydrate their skin and repair it. So it can take a couple months for their skin barrier to start to repair itself. If they're not clearing up within 2-3 months, that's when I, start to kind of get a little bit more serious about gut testing and hormone testing. Because I feel like by just changing your diet and kind of eliminating some of those foods, you can start to get some changes. But if it's not, when they're resistant or when it's continuing to be a problem, that's when I try to get more testing involved, because then it's all right, let's go deeper. Let's really figure out the root cause of what's causing your skin problems.
Yeah. So if you're working with somebody and they're just starting out, they're making in the initial phases, just so I make sure I got this right, you give it 30 to 60, maybe at the most 90 days. And if things aren't shifting, you're going, okay, we got to look deeper.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Because sometimes it can take longer for the skin to respond.
Totally.
Or if they are doing some, I'm going to eliminate this food and see, because sometimes I always say eliminate one at a time, especially if they're new to this, because if you try to pull everything from their diet at once, they're going to freak out and they're not going to stick to it. So,
yeah. And then they don't know what is doing what.
Exactly.
What was it, the elimination of the gluten or the dairy?
Yep.
Yeah. So important to narrow down those factors. Agreed. So in terms of your what you term as microchanneling and regenerative aesthetics, your clinic offers some pretty cool treatments, microchanneling and of course the regenerative modalities. How do these support the skin's natural healing mechanisms, and who benefits most? Who would be your target for getting the most benefit out of these types of treatments?
Those are more for aging. Microchanneling, I do like for acne scarring, but I won't do that on somebody with a compromised skin barrier or somebody actively breaking out, because their skin's kind of in a compromised state. So it's microchanneling is similar to microneedling. It's just not as aggressive. It's a little bit more gentle.
Okay.
So it does stimulate collagen. It does help with wound healing. It's just not as aggressive.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, that's more of anti-aging or for acne scarring.
Okay. And then what regenerative modalities? Is it just the microchanneling, or do you do others besides that?
Yeah. I do chemical peels. They're mild. I do dermaplaning. And then my favorite treatment is microcurrent, which is it uses electromagnetic current to stimulate your facial muscles. So it's like a gym workout for your face. So it's a natural way to slow down aging without having to do injections or lasers or harsh medical spa skin treatments.
Great. Yeah. Love microcurrent. Yeah. And then in your clinic, is it just you, or do you have a team? What is your, if someone's going to reach out and work with you, what does it look like what's that experience look like in kind of going through that process?
It's pretty much me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I just condense my business to work out of my house so I can do more functional testing and work more with functional clients. And I can do that online. So I kind of condensed everything and moved it to my house now.
Fantastic. Yeah. And, that's the fun part of being an entrepreneur is you get to create your vision of what you're building. And, you can do it on a super efficient, lean and mean method in keeping overhead costs low because, boy, they ratchet up real quick. And then in terms of just the business side of things, what have you found? Who is one of your, I should say, a mentor or someone? Did someone help guide you along the way on helping to get started? Because the whole business of health and aesthetics is pretty, it's a competitive field in the space. Who would you say would be someone who inspired you and served as a mentor, if any?
It was my old boss. Her name was Deborah Davis. When I was 2 or 3 years into being an esthetician, I started out in a medical spa and then I realized I'm like, I don't like this. This isn't for me. I went and worked for a day spa and she was the owner and she took me under her wing, trained me and taught me everything she knows.
That's great.
She was really inspiring. And the one thing, like I remember training, and this is before I even dealt with my own acne. We were working on an acne client and it was a teenager and she pulled me aside and she's like, we're not going to clear this kid's skin up. And I looked at her and I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, he has too much yeast in his body. Until he cleans up his diet, he's not going to clear his skin. And I remember looking at her thinking, yeast? What does that have to do with the skin?
Yeah.
And then later on, I kind of went down that hole and discovered it on my own. But yeah, it was like she kind of lit that fire for me.
Awesome. I love that story. Now, how did she look at this kid and know that his issue was yeast? Did she have some technique that she was taught? How did that, do you know?
I don't even know because I haven't talked to her in years.
Okay.
I do want to reach out to her and be like, how did you know that? But she just was very knowledgeable about everything. She was the kind of person that knew everything about everything, but in a good way. She wasn't a know-it-all. She was just very educated on all aspects of skin.
Cool. Yeah. In my background is traditional Chinese medicine. That was what I was trained in. And so I just curious if she may have looked at the tongue or something, because you can see potential gut and specifically candida overgrowths when there's a thick white coating on the tongue. It's fascinating. You can almost correlate it. So that maybe start checking people's tongue for that thick white coating. It's a really big clue right there of something going on. But yeah, just curious if she had that background training or not. Stick out your tongue. It sounds a little weird. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then for those who are in the midlife, listeners between, age 40 to 60, they might be coming into the longevity space. They're thinking of extending their life. They want to keep looking good without doing massive alterations, to their face and their appearance. How much does hormone balance play a part into this? And what's your approach with that aspect if someone's got a hormone imbalance?
So I do have to be a little bit more careful with the skin because especially if they're going through perimenopause and menopause, their skin could be pretty reactive due to hormonal fluctuations. But I do have a hormone test that I run. It tests hormones, it tests organic acids, it tests for cortisol, adrenals. So it's a pretty extensive test. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks to run that test, but it gives you a full picture of hormones, how you're metabolizing your hormones. It gives you cortisol, how you're metabolizing that, and it gives you all your vitamin levels, as well as inflammatory markers. So it really is a useful tool because a lot of women will come to me during perimenopause, menopause, and they're like, my skin's freaking out. It's breaking out. I can't get rid of the acne. My doctor told me my hormones are fine. I don't feel fine. I'm aging all of a sudden. So yeah, there's a lot going on with their skin inside and outside. So yeah, we have to treat it. I always start them kind of slow and kind of build on their skincare routine and their facial protocols.
Okay. And then what's the time frame if it's a hormone imbalance, like you said, what's a typical time frame for them to start seeing some changes that might show that, okay, this is working?
It takes a little bit longer because it depends on the severity of their hormonal fluctuations. So if they're like in the beginning stages of perimenopause, it's pretty easy. And a lot of times cortisol and adrenals can actually mimic hormones. So a woman might think they're in perimenopause and it's actually their stress levels that are causing it. So hormones are kind of tricky. It's hard to give you like an exact answer because everybody's so different and some people respond quickly and some people don't. So
Yeah, I would back that up. It's hormone imbalances there's no one size fits all. And everybody's got different factors that are playing into those hormone imbalances. And so hormone optimization, has to include things like what time of day are you exercising? If they've got dilation of their adrenal glands and cortisol is surging at night, they're not sleeping well. They're drained when they wake up in the morning. Their cortisol is flatlining in the morning. And if they find a lot of people that are exercising after they get off of work, they have to make a change. They can't keep doing that same thing because that's a part of what got them there. Lifestyle factors, sleep, exercise, and then, not just diet are factors that can shift and push the needle on hormone optimization. So, that's great. So it sounds like you very much take that personalized approach based on let's get some baselines, see where you are with the testing, with the hormones, and then we'll make some adjustments through the process. Awesome. I love it. And so mainstream beauty often sells, the anti-aging as a cosmetic, revenue stream. How does your philosophy, healing skin from the inside out, differ? And how's it shaped your client outcomes? Do you have any specific case studies that you can share a story of?
Yeah, actually, a good story I have is this one client came to me a couple months ago and her skin was pretty dehydrated and her skin, she was reacting to a lot of skincare products. New clients, what I do is I strip them down to the basics. I will literally send a new client home with a cleanser and a moisturizer. And I'm like, just use this for the next 30 days. That's it, twice a day. Because when they come in and they've been following influencers and dermatologists and they're using all this stuff on their skin, they're destroying their skin barrier and their skin is basically screaming for help. So stripping it down to the bare basics and giving them something to use for like the next 2 months. Like they come in, this one client in particular, she came in, her skin was glowing. She looked beautiful. And she's like, I can't believe it was that easy. So I'm like, yes, skincare doesn't have to be complicated. And if you're healthy on the inside and doing simple like products that are actually working for your skin. And when I say working for your skin, like if your skin's dry, you should never use a gel cleanser. You should always use like a cream or oil cleanser and a nice thick moisturizer. Exfoliation, you should never use acids or scrubs or be super aggressive. You should use something gentle like an enzyme just to kind of get that dead cell buildup off. So it's just retraining the skin and then letting the skin adjust and kind of heal itself.
Yeah, and if someone has maybe damaged the microbiome of the skin itself, what's your approach there? How do you start? Does the skin eventually just kind of naturally reformulate and repopulate its own beneficial bacteria, or do you have anything or technique that helps accelerate that re-inoculation of good bacteria?
It's pretty much just letting the skin do its job
Okay.
because you really have to strip away all the irritating ingredients because some of these cleansers or a lot of the products you buy over the counter, they lower the skin's pH. So they're breaking down the skin barrier. They're like our skin's a brick wall. That's like a good analogy. And basically what you're doing with like over scrubbing or over treating the skin or harsh skincare products is it's like taking a knife and chipping away at the brick wall. You're creating all these little holes. So by just
It's a good analogy.
right?
Yeah.
So by stripping it down and just doing like a cleanser and a moisturizer, eventually what's going to happen is your skin's going to be like, oh, I don't have to fight anymore. And it can start to relax. And it can take about at least 4 weeks, if not, 8 weeks, depending on how bad the skin is. But it will, just like the rest of our organs, like if you heal your gut, it will naturally heal itself. Our skin works almost the exact same way as the gut. But eventually, when you calm it down and give it what it needs, it'll start to eventually heal itself.
So it bounces back on its own.
Yep.
Okay, that's great.
Yep.
So in terms of long-term skin resilience, what are some daily habits that people could take away from this interview and, kind of apply and get some immediate benefit? Maybe seeing like, hey, this Samantha knows what she's talking about. I want to reach out and go a little bit deeper.
Yeah. I like to switch my clients from season to season because it depends where you live. Like I'm in Chicago, so we have hot, humid summers, cold, dry winters. So it's like you can't use the same products year round.
I thought I heard a little Chicago's accent there.
Yeah.
It's real subtle.
Yeah. So a typical morning routine would be a cleanser, a serum, either hyaluronic acid or vitamin C, depending on what your skin needs, and then a moisturizer.
Okay.
And then same thing for evening, a cleanser, an anti-aging serum. Like I like bakuchiol as an ingredient over retinol just to help with the aging. And then if you're really dry, add in a little more hyaluronic acid and then moisturizer.
I
would
love
say
it.
once a week to exfoliate, and then maintain with monthly facials.
Awesome. And then if someone were to say, hey, I want to, get a consult with this Samantha and see what she has to say, do you work with clients remotely or virtually?
I do.
Okay,
Yep.
Great. And how can they contact you? What is the best way, to reach you if someone wants to set up a little, discovery session?
They can go to my website or they can connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn.
Okay. And what's your website?
My website is skindeepil, as in Illinois.com.
Okay. Awesome. So, and then what's your, probably, I feel like a lot of people are on Instagram. That's probably where they would go to first. What's your Instagram?
It's the same, at skindeepil.
IL. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. This has been great. We're coming up on 30 minutes, so it's time to wrap things up. I just want to thank you so much for your clarity, your science, and really your passion. It really comes through. Like it's clear that you enjoy what you do. And if there's one thing that listeners can take away, let it be this: that your skin isn't just a mirror for beauty; it's a dashboard for your inner health, really. Because as within, so without. Right? It all starts on the inside. And so for anyone ready to dig deeper into their skin health, check out Samantha's website. Go check her Instagram out. Again, at SkinDeepIL on social, and then .com for her website. And until next time, keep building strength from the inside out. Thanks for joining us, Samantha.
Thank you.
If you're feeling like your energy, your edge, or your clarity just isn't what it used to be, you're not alone. But you're also not stuck. Every week on Unbreakable Vitality, we explore real strategies to reverse aging, reclaim vitality, and rewrite what's possible. If today's episode gave you even one insight, pass it on. Then go take the free vascular age quiz at echelon-longevity.com/quiz to see how your body's aging. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us because your future isn't on autopilot. You are building it and you're just getting started.